Fashion designer, entrepreneur, actor, and a soon-to-be producer. My guest on the show, Masaba Gupta, wears many hats. Stay tuned for her story on Pathbreakers. Hi Masaba, how are you?
I'm very good. How are you?
Very well. I love the bull that you have on your necklace.
Thank
it's the first
you.
thing that
Thank
caught my
you. Yes,
attention.
it's quite
I see
striking.
it a lot in the decor and many of your prints. What's
Yeah.
the story behind it?
Well, it's the Nandi, and it has somehow found its way into my work and personal life also. That has had a recurring entry into my life in many ways. Since 2009, when I made my debut, in fact, it was one of the first few prints I did. I look at it and it's a great centering factor for me for some reason. I think it's a past life connect or something. Whenever I see it, I feel like my creative output is actually much better. So I just always find ways to do interpretations of it. So this is the latest interpretation. So far you've only seen it in the clothing, but now it's also lent itself to jewelry, decor. We have a very large hot pink Nandi bang in the middle of most of our stores across India. So yeah, it's like a welcoming mascot almost of the brand now.
You are known as the queen of prints, and it's interesting you draw your inspiration from many of these motifs. The palm, for instance. Who would have thought it would become like such a rage?
It was very surprising, Neha, to be honest, because when I did the palm print, I first did it on a sari. And I remember taking that sari and putting it in a multi-designer store because somebody asked for it. And the whole consignment came back as is. It never sold. Nobody was interested in it. I think it was a bit too outlandish. I remember it was Sonam who wore it for my store opening, and something just changed and people said, oh, this is an interesting way to wear a sari. And yeah, that was it. You know, a lot of people don't know, but it's my own palm. My mother used to actually take impressions of my palm and my feet as I was growing up, and she would frame it on the wall. So when I was trying to find my own design language, I saw it. I said, this is it, the writing is literally on the wall, the pattern is in front of me, and this is what my brand will be. Very bold motif, something that stirs an emotion in you, something that ignites a reaction in you.
You're a fashion designer, you're an entrepreneur, you're an actor, and also soon to be producer. Is it as per script?
It's not as per script, but it's better. So that's great. I don't think anything has gone as per plan, because my plan was always to be more front and center of everything. Design and entrepreneurship is largely a behind the scenes kind of a role. But even when I wanted to play professional tennis, I wanted to be an athlete, I was very much in charge of my own character, my own personality. Because when you're a sports person, you have this imagery of yourself that you'd like to put out into the world. And there was that. But then I said I want to act. And that didn't go as per plan as well. It was a bit delayed, but it happened anyway. So yeah, it's not gone as per plan, but it's happened in the way that I could best imagine, because it's been very rewarding. In fact, if I had become, say, an actor before I became a designer, I don't think I would have had this kind of an output. Success is secondary. I think output is important. So I think the output would not have been the same. Similarly, if I would not have had a little touch of entrepreneurship and what it's like to run a business, I don't think I would have been able to apply that in other aspects of my life. So I spent a large chunk of my life avoiding being an entrepreneur. I pushed myself into believing I'm a creative force. And I almost believe that it's kind of corrupting the creative when you get too involved into the business aspect of things. But now, of course, I think very, very differently. And now I want nothing more than to be an entrepreneur.
But how did designing come about?
It was actually my mum. She pushed me to pursue it because she believed that whatever you do in life, it should be something you can do for a long period of time. Like, you can't play professional cricket after a certain age. I think she always wanted me to do something where I can apply my brain for the rest of my life. So she said, please just give this a shot. You have a great eye. Because I would design clothes for the family and everyone else. I don't want to do it, but sure. Because I think mums know before you. And next thing you know, I was in SNDT doing a full-fledged course in fashion. never completed it. That's a separate story. But I was so hungry after that to just make my debut and go out into the world, into the industry, and really say that I'm ready now, you know. And in hindsight, it was the best thing. And if you think about it, if I didn't do fashion and I didn't have my label, there wouldn't have been a Netflix series to talk about.
So what was your upbringing like? Your mother is a very strong figure. In what other ways did she influence your life?
In fact, it's her saying this more than me, but she says everyone has just labeled me bold and strong and independent, but I'm actually quite a lallu. She says lallu, but I don't believe it.
I don't believe it either.
No, she's not. She's actually a very vulnerable, honest, and a straight up person. And I've been raised that way. I have no room for hypocrisy. I have no room for people who slack. I have no room for laziness in my life, and it's the company I keep, it's the kind of people I work with. They all are, they say that, right? The reflections of who you are. So my upbringing has been one that has been extremely honest, not delusional at all. You know, I think being a celebrity kid or being a kid who's raised in the limelight, it's very easy to believe that everything will be handed to you in a platter. But that's not the case. The platter could come, but what you do with the platter really makes a difference, you know. My influence of my father and my mother has been that you have an opportunity, make something of it. You know, work very hard at it. I think it's really cool to work hard, and it's a great thing to boast about. So I think I've earned everything that I have possibly built so far.
Were you always very self-driven, motivated, clear about what you want to do?
No, I was a very confused and lost, I would say, teenager. I wanted to be an actor, but then there was this look that I had which was not very quintessentially Indian. I wanted to be a sports person, but I had the physical toughness, I didn't have the mental toughness. So in fact, a lot of my later half of my years went into building that mental toughness. By the time I was 19, I sorted myself out in my head. And also I'm a big believer in destiny. I like to surrender to destiny from a very young age. Just being very open-minded as a kid really helped me. And I think that's because I had open-minded parents. They never said no, don't try something. I was a good kid. I told my mom, I think I'm a great dancer. I want to give it a shot. She said, okay, give it a shot. But give it a shot in the way that if I slacked, I would be pulled up for it. There was no mollycoddling. If I missed one class, out. So I had to work hard at everything that I tried.
In what ways would you say you were mentally weak?
I couldn't control my temper. And I just couldn't find a grip on my sensitivity. For a long time, I thought of it as a weakness, but I actually think it's quite a superpower to be able to be sensitive in today's day and age. There were these moments where someone would come and tell you that, oh, today your opponent is a very, very accomplished tennis player. It would play on my mind, and it would change the way I went out there and performed, you know. And if I was, say, losing, or I lost a point, or if I was, not being able to get the ball across the net, I would break down on court.
How do you get from that point to a point where you can deal with competition, be very self-assured as you are now? What was the process? How did you master your mind?
I think it takes work every single morning. And it's not the big moments, it's actually the smaller moments which you need to work on, because I think it's very easy to go into a big situation or a big crisis and say, okay, I got this. I do a lot of self-talk. I run through scenarios in my head multiple times. I know about 3 or 4 outcomes that I can possibly imagine, and I kind of equip myself for it. But I think it's mastering the smaller moments in a day, because sometimes a lot of your inner child trauma, a lot of your childhood traumas play up in very small moments in the day. It could be somebody denying you your favorite breakfast. It could be somebody denying you a summer holiday, or it could be some trigger on a summer holiday where something has happened in your childhood where you instantly go back to it. I think all these things play up into the bigger moments. So that's my self-talk. Every moment, be conscious the steps I'm taking. And it's not like I win every day, but I try every day.
I remember in some of your interviews, you did mention that the early part of your career was something which came from a place of anger. It was a rebellion.
Yeah. I have to confess that still a lot of what I do comes from a place not of anger but of, see, my aggression is my strength. Because I was also told as a kid, before the whole the love child and the nature of your parents' relationship, all of that came into my understanding also. There was this thing of, she's just so aggressive and she's such an angry young woman, and I was like, oh, I want to be, I told my mom, I said, I want to be delicate, I want to be this coy young woman. I don't want to have this tag of an angry young woman. And I want to be shy and I want to be how girls are, all of that. She said, I don't get it. Like, that's not your DNA. That's not who you're made out to be. So I think it was the aggression where I actually said, let me channel this into something that actually works for me as opposed to against me. And there was a vivid conversation I remember with a friend, and I said, what do you think I should do? Because I dabbled in tennis. I had dabbled in dance, I had done some music in London and come back. And I said, now what? And she said, I don't know. I can't think of anything that you can do because you're so aggressive. These are her words. I will never forget. I was all of 18 years old, and I will never forget who said it and how they said it. And that day I decided that I will make aggression my superpower, which is why I started to study people like a Virat and study people who go out there and really own their imagery and own their narrative.
Somehow you've transmuted everything that happened in your personal life and channeled it in your professional life.
Yes.
And it shows up.
And I think if you've had a bad experience or you've had challenging experiences, the best thing to do is make a story out of it, present it to the world so they can maybe use it to their benefit as well. I believe that strongly. I healed the day I found my calling. But maybe there's other wounds that need healing, which I think keep cropping up in your adult life. But I've healed in the best way possible. I've healed in a very positive way. And it's not superficial. I have healed because I found my zen.
What a compelling story you've made it to be. A very powerful, inspiring one.
Thank you.
House of Masaba, this is what you built?
This is what I've built. Over 15 years now. I also have a newer baby, which is Love Child, which is 2 years old this month. So yeah, it's good. I wouldn't have it any other way because I have found such a great creative outlet to dress women, to put makeup on women, to give them products that they can use every day of their lives. And if you see all of our products, I take a lot of pride in the fact that there's more storytelling than design. There's a lot more emotion than just a kurta or a sari or something that you want to put on. I think it's a very empowering brand because we've built it on the back of a story.
Earlier in the conversation, you said you were a designer. You thought like a designer and you felt that the entrepreneurship part of it would be distracting and probably take away from you as a designer.
Yeah. I always say and believe that the best businesses, the most successful ones or ones that have more of a shelf life are the ones that can bridge the gap between art and commerce, where there is a steady balance of the two. So I think when I say that in my early years I was focusing more on being a creative person, that was what was needed of me then, to build the story, to make sure I'm focusing very heavily on what is the visual, what is the communication, what is this brand trying to say, does it resonate with the people that we're dressing. And it's not about a consumer survey or it's not about market data analytics, it's a very simple gut feeling as the founder of a brand. What is my brand trying to say, who are we, and what are we going to eventually become? And I think if you can answer yourself very simple, maybe 3 words, 1 line, that's half the battle won. I would say since 2018-19 needed me to be to actually turn the wheel around and become more of a business person. So I think that balance has found itself because I've also been able to build a team that takes care of a large part of creative, along with me. I have been able to build a marketing leg of the label that is taking care of a large part of these things as well. And my job now is to make sure I'm more of a leader, about getting the basics right and being a constant bridge between the commerce and the artistic teams.
You spoke about the gut instinct. Did that help you as a business leader as well, or was that more of something which you had to learn over the years?
Oh, I've had to learn pretty much everything, and I still am learning everything about business. I don't take to numbers naturally. In the sense I get a bit like, no, I'll get to it next, second half of the day. First half is for all the creative juices to flow. But as a leader and as a founder, most importantly, you don't have any business to say you don't like doing something. Sure, you absolutely dislike doing most things, but it's the dirty stuff that has to get done first. I have incredible people in my organization who teach me on a daily basis as well. More importantly, I'm a good delegator. I've come to that conclusion. I know who to give what task to. I'm good at letting go of control. Because if you're a micromanager and you say, I want to do this at the very deep level. I do it in marketing and design, I won't lie, but I don't do it in areas where I know I'm not 100% yet.
Did the JV with Aditya Birla Fashion and Retail help you a great extent? They have 51% stake in the company.
Yeah.
How has that helped you bridge the gap between art and commerce?
It's the greatest bridge that one could have built. I used to say to myself that until and unless I have the backing of a solid investor or a solid a corporate like ABFRL, I had decided I would never start a family, even start planning for a family until that's sorted. Because that's my first baby. House of Masaba is my first baby. I have to make sure that there's somebody co-parenting with me.
Yeah.
So I think of these deals very differently from most creative people. I think of it as putting your brand on wheels, because what happens is there's just so much you can do as an individual founder. There's so much you can do when you're going on raising money. The thing is, raising money is also a constant journey, right? It requires a lot of time, effort, etc. So I said, why not put all our dreams on these wheels along with people who we have a very similar set of ethical and moral values, Neha, that's very important. I am okay with anything, but I just cannot work with somebody who isn't on the same page as me morally and ethically. I know that when I'm not looking, I trust that they will do the right thing for me. So integrity matters, focus matters, doing the right thing matters, treating people right matters. I also had a lot more ambition for my brand than most designers do at that age. I wanted it to be a lifestyle brand. I thought of beauty in 2015, where most people were still very obsessed with buying international beauty brands. And I said, this is great, this is cool, lovely, love the brand, but I'd like to build my own out of India. I also was one of the first designers to do collaborations, to actually lend my hand to other categories. We had Titan watches with Raga. We had the Tata Nano. So I think all these things were there, and I said, look, I have all these dreams and this vision. I will need somebody to hold my hand through it, explain to me how the market works, because otherwise we would just be that boutique brand trying to try our hand at a little bit of everything, trying to make a quick buck, so that we could then put that money into our other ambitions. So it was also a very ripe time for the brand, ripe time for the market. So at that time, there were a lot of designer acquisitions that happened. So it's actually the perfect bridge, like I say, because on one end of the bridge, you have people who understand everything about real estate, retail, sales, about expansion, product, back end, all of that stuff. And then you have one side, which is creative, marketing, visual communication, product, brand building, storytelling. So it's the perfect marriage. So yeah, but you have to believe in the concept of marriage for it to work. You can't be modern about it.
How has this concept of marriage helped you fast track plans when it comes to expansion of stores, revenue, for instance?
We've had a very, very aggressive retail expansion at an offline level. We started off 2022 with maybe 3-4 odd stores. We're sitting at 20 as we speak, with the 21st one in the pipeline as well. So we'll be 21 at the end of the year. The team has grown considerably. We were a 30-member intimate team. Today we're about over 350 people in the organization. And how do I quantify what has happened? Love Child, to be honest, in the last 1 year has had a 4 to 5x growth. So that's massive for a beauty brand in a heavily cluttered market. So that's seen a tremendous growth. And apart from that, I think with fashion, what's happened is we have launched our bridal collection on the back of, doing print for so many years. So October 2023 was when we launched our first bridal collection, which was a full-fledged sort of first entry into the bridal market. At the end of this year, we'll have our first and largest bridal-only store in Mehrauli in Delhi. And fashion continues to grow. Last year it grew at about 60%. And this year, as we keep going, it continues to stay very, very steady. And we have two very strong product extensions. One is fine jewelry, and the other is accessories and handbags that's coming up early next year.
Now, this caters largely to a luxury market. How have you seen the market change?
Well, the industry is, I would say, at its core, still very, very much what it was. But the consumer has changed, actually. The consumer has become much more smarter. The consumer is suddenly also questioning everything. So if I talk about apparel, they're questioning the fabric. They're questioning where it's sourced from. Suddenly, sustainability is a big talking point across the world. And I think they're also questioning cost. I don't think that was ever a concept. When you went to a designer brand, you said, I go with the notion that it's going to be something that is expensive, even though I think expensive is a very subjective term, but that was the idea. They want to know the printing technique. They've become a lot more aware of the concept of how clothes are made. With Love Child and with beauty, what we've noticed is that suddenly the consumer knows everything that's going on back of pack. They know ingredients, they know the chemical names for ingredients, they know everything. The consumers become sharper, smarter, they're much more well aware of what they're putting on their bodies and their faces. I would say that today you can't fool anyone. Competition has become a lot more. And that's also because information is flowing in much more easily. The world has become smaller. You have quick commerce today. As we speak, we're actually listing our lipsticks onto Blinkit and Zepto. If we have to win in this category, we have to have the ability to make sure that this product, a lipstick, can reach you. Suddenly you decide, I don't have this purple lipstick that I want today and I only want to wear purple lipstick. It should be able to be with you in 11 minutes, you know. So I think all these things matter, and we have to keep up. We have to be very, very agile on the service end of things, and we have to be very fluid.
Speaking about Love Child, it's more of a D2C brand.
Yes.
With all the clutter out there, how are you competing with other D2C beauty brands which are also offering lipsticks and foundations? So what really is the USP of Love Child?
The USP of Love Child is that when you're buying a lipstick or you're buying a kajal or you're buying a foundation, you are not just buying into a product, you are buying into the whole brand philosophy. The second thing is that we have really mastered formulation. So we've made sure that our formulations are at par with global companies. We've made sure that our storytelling is at par. I am talking to not just an Indian, I'm talking to Indians from tier 2, tier 3 who have suddenly felt alienated because when they walk into a beauty store, they see a campaign, a huge hoarding of a European model, doesn't look much like them, has no connection with them. And when they go to the counter to buy products, they most definitely won't get a shade that matches their shade. We work on our formulations as per what India wants, you know. And so yeah, we have very interesting names.
Yes, Pani Puri.
Nimbu Pani.
Nimbu Pani.
Nimbu Pani. But Pani Puri is a great name. I should definitely do a product like that. And it's an emotion. I don't think when you look at it, you necessarily think of Nimbu Pani, but you think of freshness and you think of color and you think of India. So I think we're taking Indians back to India. We're reminding them that beauty that stems from here looks like this. And I think that's the USP.
So where do the bulk of the sales come from for Love Child?
Well, interestingly, bulk of the sales come from brand.com. So we've built a very, very strong website for the brand. So on lovechild.in is where we really see the volume of sales coming from. Of course, that's closely followed by a Nykaa and an Amazon and all the other marketplaces. And I think that when you're also present in an ecosystem like marketplaces, you also have to find what fits a marketplace. You know, if you're on an Amazon or you're on a Nykaa and you're on a Myntra Beauty, you have to fit a certain price point because people are used to it. Offline, all stores of House of Masaba carry Love Child. And in some stores there's a larger offering, in some there's a smaller offering, but it's always there. We've just about entered the kiosk model, so we are the Shopper Stop Beauty, which has been a great partner for us, and we're at Nykaa offline as well. So we're slowly building that. I think we're on the way to adding at least a dozen more. as we speak.
Do metro cities drive sales?
Interestingly, it's a mix. It's a very strong mix. But yeah, they are driven by the Bombay, Delhi, Bangalore's is where we really see the numbers coming in from. Having said that, there's a lot of engagement at tier 2, tier 3 levels. Interestingly, we get a lot of traction from NRIs as well, international clients, but we do ship to 75 plus countries globally. So that's also something that we are slowly building.
You are also an actor, soon to be producer. Tell us a bit about those projects. Is season 3 coming up on Netflix?
Wow, I don't know. You'll have to ask Netflix this question. But I think before that, I have a lot on my plate as well. In terms of production, we're actually working on a very interesting show around the bridal industry in India, around brides, grooms, families, what really goes on behind the scenes. So that's happening soon in the pipeline. Acting, I have to say, is something that keeps happening sporadically. But I'm very, very involved and completely entrenched in Love Child and House of Masaba right now. So that's taking up 90% of my time.
So tell me what's coming up for House of Masaba, for Love Child?
For Love Child, well, we've actually worked on a whole new identity as a brand. We call it Love Child 2.0, where we're actually also trying to pivot that into a luxury brand.
Okay.
So that will become luxury beauty. And on apparel, there is a whole new bridal, 100-piece bridal collection that's coming up in the next week. And more music that I will be co-producing. I worked on a track last time. We just did one music track, which was used on the Karina campaign, but this time we plan to use it for the whole campaign. So four tracks that are coming out as part of an exclusive album, which is the Masaba Bride. Oh, it's always Indian, classical, folk, old tunes being remixed into modern music. So that's the genre, but it's very Punjabi.
What's the color palette?
The color palette is vast. There's lots of electric blues, there's aquas, there's ivories. This time we're doing a lot more reds and maroons as well, because I think we kind of let that go last time. But I'll tell you what's not there is pink. Everything else is there, but we don't have a pink, because I think we're also trying to say that, listen, we don't only do pink, we do many more things. So very, very interesting. There's olive greens. It's a very rich palette, and I keep saying it reminds me of Purani Delhi. So
We saw this trend, where suddenly pastels were just ruling.
Ivory as well.
Yes.
Yeah. But I still believe that India is so entrenched in our customs and we're so close to our roots. Red will always be the go-to color. You'll always go back to red.
Some very quick questions now. When did you start investing?
In 2021, yeah. I'm a fairly new investor. Well, that's when I started investing in startups. But before that, I was investing in your mutual funds and all of that. But I took control of my own investing in 2021.
You're an informed investor.
As informed as I could be. But I go with the gut feel mostly, and then I verify that gut feeling with somebody who's informed. So yeah.
So which are the startups that you have invested in?
So there's a very interesting one that's called Inito. It's based out of Bangalore. So that's the health tech. And the second one is Purnia's pop-up shop, which is Purple Style Lab, the company that owns that brand. And we've been investors with them for some time now. We're also partners with them for retail. So they are actually one of our biggest offline retailers apart from the House of Masaba stores. Then there's a sneaker resale company called Crep Talk Crew based out of Delhi. There's Burger Singh based out of Delhi. That's a very personal one because I love the story of Burger Singh doing these very Indianized burgers. Yeah, these are the key ones though. These are the key
Do you
ones.
invest in stocks as well?
Yeah, but that's mostly managed by my father, who is a master at this.
Really?
Didn't
know that?
No, not my biological father. He couldn't be more disinterested.
I
in
was
stocks.
so surprised.
He's only interested in football, cricket, and golf. He's not interested in stocks. No, this is my stepfather, who's actually a banker, and he's CA as well. So he's the one who drives that completely. So that's been outsourced totally to a team that gets it. I just keep checking to understand what's happening with the market. That's all.
So with everything happening in life, work, how do you find the balance Or is there no balance? It's just what needs more of your attention at a different point.
You're right. I think you really hit the nail on the head. There's no such thing as, I have not found that work-life balance. I find that within work you find a little bit of life, and within life you find a bit of work. And that's the balance. If you think too much about the balance, it becomes the imbalance in a way, So I just take it as it comes. I go with the flow. Whatever needs me will have my attention. And having said that, if I feel the need to completely cut off from something, I do it in my own ways. I don't ever crib about, yeah, sure, I get tired, but
Yeah.
what a privilege to be tired.
What's your advice for women going through a rough phase and are just at that point where they want to give up? What would you tell them?
Well, I think the one thing I will tell them is the circle or the pool of people that you take advice from or that you exchange energies with. Be really cautious of that. I think that as women, sometimes we seek help from people who don't have our best interest, who may not really be happy, proud, or interested in our journey, or who may not be invested in us the way that we think they are invested in us. So I think keep the pool of people you take advice from very small. Work like your life depends on it. Never give up working. No matter who tells you to give up working, don't give it up. Because it's not just a thing about showing the world or society, it's about self-preservation. And I think the best way for a woman to preserve herself is to work and validate herself through her work. And I don't mean starting a multi-million-dollar company or doing a massive job or doing something path-breaking. It could be something as simple as running a small business every 2 hours out of your own home. Having said that, I think every woman has a very different journey, and I think that you cannot take advice from somebody who does not have the same appetite for survival. This is something that hit me very late in life. It's like somebody who has everything handed on a platter saying, you gotta have a work-life balance. You have to put off your phone after this time, or you have to be a little selective of who you talk. No, if you are struggling and you have to be self-made, you have to work hard and you have to be available for people so that people can be available for you. So all this matters. These are the small things that matter.
And they make a huge difference.
They make a huge difference. They last you longer.